In this video, I'll be showing you how to crochet this no-sew carrot. And this is a step-by-step tutorial, so I'll be showing you exactly how to crochet each part of this carrot. And this is a pretty easy plushie to crochet, so I would definitely say it's beginner friendly. And throughout this video, I'll be including the pattern here on the screen, probably right up here. I'll be including the pattern for this carrot for free in this video. But if you prefer to follow a written pattern, I will be selling the pattern for this carrot on my Etsy store in the form of a digital PDF. So if you're interested in that, I will have that linked in the description of this video. But that's all I have for the intro, so let's start making the carrot. These are all the materials that we'll be using. So we have our yarn, scissors, safety eyes, a crochet hook, a darning needle, a stitch marker, and our stuffing. This is the carrot that we're gonna be making, and we're gonna start from the very bottom right here, and we're gonna work our way up. And once we've finished making the orange part of the carrot, we're then gonna start making the carrot top in green. So I'm gonna put this aside and we're gonna get started on this carrot. So I'm gonna take my orange yarn. So to start, we have to make a magic ring, and I'll show you how. So we're just gonna use our 3 fingers here to hold on to the end of our yarn. And now we're gonna wrap our yarn around our 2 fingers right here. So we're gonna do it like this. And we wanna make sure that we're creating an X on the front of our 2 fingers right here. And then we need to hold this yarn, and we're gonna do that by placing it between these 2 fingers here. So we're now using our 2 fingers right here to hold both pieces of the yarn. And the yarn is now wrapped around these 2 fingers, and making sure that we have an X on the front of our 2 fingers. And this is what it looks like in the back. So we go all the way around like that. And now we're gonna take our hook and we're gonna be going under, over, specifically on this side of the X. So not this side, this side. So we're gonna go under, over, and hook the second piece of yarn, pull it under the first piece of yarn, and twist towards ourselves. And then we place a finger onto this loop to keep it from sliding as we go under, over with this piece of yarn right here. So under, over, and hook the yarn as we pull it through this loop that is currently on our hook. And by doing that, we have created a magic ring. And that's what that looks like. Next, we'll be doing round 1. And in round 1, we have to crochet 4 single crochet stitches into the magic ring. So into this little circle right here. So I'm going to insert my hook into this little circle and crochet a single crochet stitch. And I have to do this a total of 4 times. So into the circle, pull up a loop, pull the yarn through both loops to create a single crochet. So we do this 4 times. Okay, so I've just crocheted a total of 4 single crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into the magic ring. And that's what that looks like. And now we're gonna want to close this magic circle. So we wanna get rid of this little hole right here. And we're gonna do that by pulling on our yarn tail right here until this hole closes. So I'm just going to hold my stitches as I pull on this yarn tail to close the magic circle. Next, we're gonna be doing round 2, and we're gonna start by inserting into the next stitch, which is this stitch right here, which can be a little hard to see, but just to make sure, we can count back from our last stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's how we know this is the first stitch. So I'm inserting and pulling up a loop, and then pulling my yarn through both loops to create a single crochet stitch. And at this point, I'm going to take my stitch marker and place it into the top of my first stitch. So personally, I like to place my stitch markers into the first stitch of each round. And round 2 is an increase round, and we have to crochet an increase into each stitch in the round. So a total of 4 increases in round 2. And to do an increase, we have to crochet 2 single crochet stitches into 1 stitch. So I already have my first single crochet in this stitch right here. So now I'm going to insert back into that same stitch and crochet a second single crochet stitch in order to complete the increase. So this is 1 increase stitch. And now I'm going to insert into the next stitch. So this is where we previously inserted. And now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet my next increase stitch. So it's 1 single crochet, insert back into the same stitch to crochet a second single crochet in order to complete the increase. So basically when we do an increase stitch, we're just adding a stitch into the round. And since we're increasing into each stitch in the round, which ends up being a total of 4 increases in this round, that means our stitch count will be going up 4 stitches. So in round 1, we had 4 stitches in the round, and at the end of round 2, we should have 8 stitches in our round. And I'm actually just going to count my stitches now to make sure I did the right amount of increase stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Next we'll be doing round 3, and in round 3 we're just going to be crocheting 1 single crochet stitch into each stitch in the round. So there are no increases in this round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, insert into the next stitch in the round, and crochet my first stitch of round 3, which is a single crochet stitch. And I'm going to place the stitch marker back into this stitch, which marks the start of the round. So this is a pretty simple round since there are no increases. So we're just crocheting 1 single crochet into each stitch. So I already have 1 here, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet a single crochet. And now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and do the same. So we're crocheting a total of 8 single crochet stitches in this round. I just finished round 3, and at the end of round 3, we should still have 8 stitches in our round. And next we'll be doing round 4, and round 4 is an increase round. So in round 4, we're going to be crocheting 1 single crochet, 1 increase, a total of 4 times in the round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and I'm going to crochet my first stitch of round 4, which is a single crochet. So I'm inserting into this next stitch here, crocheting a single crochet, and placing the stitch marker into this stitch to mark the start of the round. So I crocheted my first single crochet, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet an increase, which is 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So what I just did is I crocheted 1 single crochet, 1 increase. And now I have to repeat this 3 more times. So in total, we're going to be doing 1 single crochet, 1 increase 4 times in round 4. So now I'm inserting into the next stitch, crocheting a single crochet, inserting into the next stitch, and crocheting an increase. And now inserting into the next stitch, crocheting a single crochet, into the next, and crocheting an increase. And now we're going to do it 1 more time to bring us to the end of the round. So 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, and crochet and increase. So in round 4, we did a total of 4 increases in this round, which means our stitch count should now be 12. Next we'll be doing round 5, where we'll be crocheting 1 single crochet into each stitch in the round. So a total of 12 single crochet stitches in round 5. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet my first stitch of round 5 and place my marker, So this is a simple round because there are no increases in this round, just one single crochet into each stitch in the round. I just finished round 5, and at the end of round 5, we should still have 12 stitches in our round. And next we'll be doing round 6, and in round 6, we'll be crocheting 2 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, a total of 4 times in the round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet my first stitch of round 6, which is a single crochet, place the stitch marker, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet a second single crochet. So now I've crocheted 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet an increase, which is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So the first 2 single crochets are separate, so 1 in 1, but then the increase is 2 single crochets but in 1 stitch. So it's 2 in 1, and these are 1 in 1. So what I just did, 2 single crochets, 1, 2, increase. We're going to do this 3 more times, so a total of 4 times in the round. So 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, 2 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, and crochet an increase. Do that again. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, increase. And now, one last time, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and increase. So at the end of round 6, we should have a total of 16 stitches in the round, since we ended up crocheting 4 increases in this round. So we should now have 16 stitches. And next we'll be crocheting round 7, which is just 1 single crochet into each stitch in the round, so a total of 16 single crochet stitches. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet the first stitch of round 7, which is a single crochet, place the marker, and this is a simple round, so just 1 single crochet into each stitch. At the end of round 7, we should still have 16 stitches in our round. And next we'll be doing round 8. And in round 8, we'll be crocheting 3 single crochets, 1 increase, a total of 4 times in the round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet a single crochet, which is the first stitch of round 8. Place a stitch marker. So round 8 is 3 single crochets, one increase, a total of 4 times in the round. So I'm just going to do it together quickly. So I'm going to insert into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, 2 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, 3 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, crochet an increase. And we're going to do this 2 more times, but I'm just going to quickly do it off camera. I just finished round 8, and since we did a total of 4 increase stitches in this round, we should now have 20 stitches in our round. And now the next 5 rounds are going to be very simple. We're just going to be crocheting 1 single crochet into each stitch in the round for the next 5 rounds. So from round 9 to round 13, we're crocheting 1 single crochet into each stitch in the round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker and start round 9. So since these next 5 rounds are very simple, I'm going to work them off camera, but then I'll come back to show you what to do for round 14. I just finished crocheting my 5 simple rounds, and I'm now at the end of round 13. And at the end of round 13, we should still have a total of 20 stitches in our round, since during these 5 simple rounds, we did no increases. And next, we're going to be doing round 14, which is our first decrease round. So in this round, I'll be showing you how to do a decrease stitch. So for round 14, we're going to be crocheting 2 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease, a total of 5 times in the round. So I'm going to start by taking out my stitch marker, crocheting my first stitch of round 14, which is a single crochet stitch, placing the stitch marker. And now I'm going to insert into the next stitch and crochet my second single crochet stitch. And now I have to crochet a decrease stitch. So basically how we'll be doing this decrease stitch is we're going to be single crocheting 2 stitches together. So this is how we do it. I'm going to insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop. Now I have 2 loops on my hook, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch. So into the next stitch and pull up a 3rd loop. And as you can see, we now have 3 loops on our hook. And now I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. So the purpose of a decrease stitch is to eliminate a stitch. And we did that by crocheting 2 stitches together. So just a little recap, we just crocheted 2 single crochets, so 1, 2, and then 1 decrease. And we're gonna do this 4 more times, so a total of 5 times in this round. So now I'm going to insert into the next stitch, which is this one right here. Crochet 1 single crochet, insert into the next stitch, crochet a 2nd single crochet, and now I'm going to crochet a decrease again. So we're going to insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then insert into the next stitch again and pull up a 3rd loop. So with 3 loops on our hook, I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through all 3 loops in order to complete a decrease stitch. So one more time really quickly, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and a decrease. So I've just crocheted 2 single crochet, 1 decrease, a total of 3 times so far, and now I'm going to do it 2 more times off camera. I just reached the end of round 14, and in round 14 we ended up doing a total of 5 decreases, which means our stitch count at the end of this round should be 15, since our previous round had a total of 20 stitches, and yeah, we went down 5 stitches, so now we should have 15 stitches in our round. And if you want to add safety eyes, now's a good time to do it at the end of round 14 before our hole at the top gets too small. So now I'm going to show you how to add safety eyes. So if you don't want to add safety eyes, then just skip this part because they're totally optional. This carrot right here does not have any safety eyes, and I think it looks really cute and it's less work. So we want to place the safety eyes between round 12 and round 13 with 3 stitches of space between both eyes. So this is round 12 and this is round 13. So we're going to be placing the safety eyes between the 2 rounds. So I'm just going to place my first safety eye to a random spot between round 12 and 13. And when placing my second safety eye, I'm going to place it so that there's 3 stitches of space between the 2 eyes. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to place a second safety eye right here with 3 stitches of space between where both eyes are placed. And now I'm going to place the backings onto the safety eye. So I'm just going to flip it inside out, and now I'm just going to place the backings. And just an FYI, these safety eye backings that I'm using are not the best. I just bought them off of Amazon a while ago. If you plan to sell your plushies at a market or something, or give it to a child 3 years or under, I definitely recommend getting some quality safety eyes, which you can find on Etsy. But yeah, these ones, these backings, I don't even think I'm placing them on correctly, but the other way is even worse. But yeah, so basically when you have safety eyes, you have the eyes, and then you have to put some backings on them as well. And now that we've placed the safety eyes, I'm going to continue on to round 15. So in round 15, we're going to be crocheting 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, a total of 5 times in the round. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, crochet a single crochet into the next stitch, place the marker. So it's my first single crochet, and now my next stitch is a decrease. So I'm just pulling up the 3 loops, pulling my yarn through to complete the decrease. 1 single crochet, 1 decrease. So I've just done that 2 times, the single crochet, 1 decrease. So I've done that 1, 2, 2 times. And I'm actually just gonna pause for a second before completing the rest of the round. And I'm gonna take a second to add the stuffing because as you can see, this hole is getting pretty small and it's only gonna continue to get smaller as we crochet the rest of round 15. So I'm gonna pause halfway through round 15 to add the stuffing. So we're just adding stuffing into the hole. And you don't have to stuff it completely at this point. We're just gonna add the majority of the stuffing, especially the stuffing at the bottom of the carrot. But I don't want the stuffing to be overflowing because then it'll be hard to crochet the rest of our stitches. And I'm gonna complete round 15. I just finished round 15. And as you can see, the hole has gotten pretty small now. And yeah, so in round 15, we ended up doing a total of 5 decrease stitches, which has brought our stitch count down to 10 stitches. And next we're gonna be doing round 16, which is our last round of the orange part of the carrot. And in round 16, we're just gonna be crocheting a total of 5 decrease stitches. So we're just gonna be decreasing our way around round 16. So I'm gonna take out my stitch marker and crochet my first stitch of round 16, which is a decrease stitch. Insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then insert into the stitch after that, pull up another loop, and with 3 loops on our hook, I'm gonna pull the yarn through all 3 of them. That's the first stitch of round 16, so I'm gonna place the stitch marker in it, and with 1 decrease completed, I'm gonna crochet 4 more decreases. After crocheting my 3rd decrease, I'm gonna actually pause here to finish adding my stuffing, because as you can see, as we've crocheted a little bit more, there's some space that is lacking some stuffing. So I'm gonna take my stuffing and just add it through this tiny hole. If it gets any smaller, it'll become really difficult to add the stuffing. So choosing to do it halfway through round 16. I think that should be a good amount of stuffing. I still don't want it overflowing. I want the plushie to be a little squishy. Now I'm going to finish off round 16 with the last 2 decrease stitches. So that's 1 decrease. And now I'm about to crochet the last decrease of round 16, but we're actually gonna be changing colors throughout this decrease stitch because after round 16, we're gonna be crocheting the carrot top, so the green part of the carrot here, and we'll be changing colors for that halfway through this last decrease stitch of round 16. And I will show you how, but first we're just going to, do the first part of the decrease in the color orange still. So I'm pulling up my loops with the orange yarn, and with 3 loops on my hook, instead of pulling this orange yarn through all 3 loops, I'm gonna take my green yarn and I'm going to place it onto my hook. And now I'm gonna pull the green yarn through all 3 orange loops on my hook. By changing colors this way, my last stitch of round 16 will still appear to be orange, but now the next stitch that I do will appear in the color green. So before continuing, I'm going to cut my orange yarn. And now we're fully done with the orange part of the carrot, and we are moving on to the carrot top. So the entire carrot top will be made in round 17, and we're only going to be working in the front loop only of each stitch in round 17. And we're going to start by doing a slip stitch into the front loop only of the next stitch in the round. So this right here is the next stitch in our round. This part of the stitch is the front loop, and this other part of the stitch is the back loop. And we're inserting into the front loop only. And now we crochet a slip stitch. And a slip stitch starts off in a similar way as a single crochet, but instead of pulling our yarn through the 2 loops, instead we pull the second loop through the first loop. And that's a slip stitch. And now we have to crochet a chain of 7. So this is how we crochet a chain. So we hook our yarn and pull it through the loop on our hook. So that's 1 chain. So I'm gonna do that again. And that's 2 chains. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this is what 7 chains looks like. So just a little recap, we inserted into the front loop only of the first stitch in the round and crocheted a slip stitch, and then we made a chain of 7. And next we're going to be crocheting down this chain. So we're going to be crocheting in this direction back down to round 17. And more specifically, we're going to be crocheting a total of 6 slip stitches. So 1 slip stitch into each chain, except at the very beginning here, because in the very beginning we're going to be skipping the first chain. So we're going to be skipping the first chain and inserting into the second chain from our hook. This is the first chain right here, and we're skipping it and inserting into the second chain from our hook and crocheting a slip stitch. And the slip stitch is done by pulling up a loop and then pulling the second loop through the first loop. So that's 1 slip stitch, and now I'm going to insert into the next chain. So this one right here, and crochet a second slip stitch, and then into the next chain, 3rd slip stitch, 4, 5, and 6. And this is what 6 slip stitches down the chain looks like. And now we're going to repeat what we just did. So basically in round 17, the pattern says slip stitch into the front loop only of the next stitch in the round, chain 7, and then starting in the second chain from the hook, slip stitch into each chain, which ends up being a total of 6 slip stitches. And then we repeat all of that a total of 5 times to create 5 stems, just like that. So this part of the pattern is probably the trickiest compared to the rest of the carrot. So I'm going to show you how to do this a few more times. So we insert into the front loop only of the next stitch and crochet a slip stitch. And now we chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now starting in the second chain from our hook, so skipping this first chain, we're inserting into the second chain from our hook and crocheting a slip stitch. So 1 slip stitch into each chain, except for the very first chain, of course, because we're skipping that and inserting into the second chain. So yeah, total of 6 slip stitches down this chain. Okay, so we've just created the second stem, and now we're going to start the third stem. So each time we start the next stem, it connects the previous stem to round 17. So now we're inserting into the front loop only of the next stitch to start the third stem. And by doing that, we are connecting our previous stem to round 17. So we connect it with a slip stitch and then chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, skipping the first chain, inserting into the second chain, crochet a slip stitch, continue to crochet 1 slip stitch into each chain. So a total of 6 slip stitches. That's the third stem, and now I'm going to connect the third stem to round 17 with the slip stitch at the start of our fourth stem. Okay, so before continuing, I'm actually just going to take a second to tie these 2 strands into a knot just to secure our ends. So these 2 ends are from when we changed colors. just gonna cut them a little bit shorter to make it easier to get them into this hole. I wanna stuff them into this tiny little hole. And now I'm just gonna create the next 2 stems off camera because they're just done the same way as the 3 stems I just showed you how to do. Okay, so I just finished working up my 5th stem. Also, I just realized I've been calling them stems and they're not stems. So I don't know why I've been calling them that. It sounded right at the time. But anyway, to finish off this last, let's say, leaf, we're gonna crochet a slip stitch into the same stitch that we crocheted the first slip stitch of round 17. So this right here is the first slip stitch of round 17. And we're gonna insert into the same stitch that we inserted into when crocheting this slip stitch here. So this one right here. So I'm just gonna insert back into this same stitch to crochet the slip stitch that will join our last leaf to round 17. So that's what that looks like. And now I'm going to cut my yarn, but I'm gonna leave some length when cutting it so we can use this yarn tail to sew the hole closed. Now that I've cut my yarn, I'm going to fasten off, and we're gonna do that by hooking our yarn and pulling it through the loop and pulling it all the way through the loop. I'm gonna pull it tight. And now we just wanna close this hole in the center here, because even though it's hard to see, there is a tiny little hole here. So we're gonna take our darning needle and we're gonna thread our yarn tail, still attached to the carrot top, through our darning needle. And now we're gonna sew this hole closed. And I like to do this by inserting my darning needle into the base of each leaf. And I'm trying to actually find the back loop of the stitches of round 16. So you know in round 17 when we inserted into the front loop only, there is still a back loop of those stitches that hasn't been inserted into. So when inserting my darning needle here, I'm trying to find the back loop of these stitches. You don't have to sew it this way. I just personally find it easier to do it like this. But yeah, sometimes when I insert trying to find the back loop of the stitches, I find something else, but it's okay. We just need to close this hole. So I just worked my way all the way around, and as you can see, some of the orange is still showing from the carrot. So I'm just gonna do a few loops over here to cover it up. So I was actually able to mostly cover it with 1 loop. So now I'm just going to tie a knot. And I'm going to darn in my end. And I'm just gonna cut this loose end. And this next part is totally optional, but I kind of want to create a little face for the carrot. So I'm gonna add a nose and a little mouth, maybe some eyebrows, we'll see. So first I want to do a little nose, and I'm just going to use my orange yarn from earlier to do the nose. So I'm going to weave some orange yarn through my darning needle, and I'm just going to cut the yarn, but give myself a decently long piece of yarn for this. And we're going to be embroidering the nose, and the way that I like to embroider details onto my plushies is I like to start by inserting through the back of the plushie and then pulling up my needle where I want to start the embroidery. And now I'm going to embroider 3, maybe 4 loops for this nose, and I'm gonna do it over 1 stitch. So this one right here. So I'm gonna insert my needle into this stitch hole right here, and I'm going to exit my darning needle through the same hole that I first came in through, and I'm embroidering 1 loop, and I'm not pulling too tightly because I want it to be noticeable. I don't want it to be really tight against the plushie. And now I'm inserting into this hole again and exiting through this hole, doing a second loop. And now I'm going to do a 3rd loop. I think I'm going to stop at 3 loops. I think that'll be a big enough nose. So this time, since this will be my last loop, I'm going to insert into this hole here, and I'm going to exit my darning needle through the same hole that I first inserted into at the back of the plushie. I complete my third loop here. Again, I'm not pulling too tightly, otherwise the nose won't really be super noticeable. So now if we look at the back here, we have our starting tail and our end tail coming out through the same hole. And next we're gonna take both yarn tails and we're gonna tie a knot. And now I'm going to weave both yarn tails through the darning needle, and I'm gonna insert into the same hole that both yarn tails are coming out of. And I'm gonna darn in the ends. So the reason I do it like this is when I darn in the ends, the knot just disappears because we pulled it into the plushie. So this is what the nose looks like. And oh my gosh, it looks really cute from the side. So that's why it's really important not to pull super tightly when embroidering. Otherwise, this would be like right up against the plushie. But since we didn't, and it's very loosely embroidered, you can see it from the side. Oh my gosh. Okay, so next I'm gonna embroider the mouth, and you can embroider your mouth however you want. And I recommend using the same technique that we use to embroider the nose, where we insert and exit through the same hole in the back. But yeah, I'm gonna do the mouth off camera because it's done the same way as the nose, and I have not yet decided which kind of mouth I'm gonna be making. So this is what the mouth looks like. So I tried a few different things. At first I wanted to do just like a straight line for a mouth, but when I tried to do that, it was really difficult to get it perfectly centered. Yeah, straight mouth didn't work, but then I tried this little smirky smile mouth and it ended up being so cute. So yeah, it's basically just over one stitch, but across the stitch. So yeah, just over this stitch right here. So now that we finished the embroidery, the carrot is officially done. Oh my gosh, I love this carrot so much. It's so cute, and I feel like it's pretty easy to do. Hopefully the instructions for this carrot were easy enough to follow. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. And if you're looking for more things to crochet, I have a few more beginner-friendly tutorials on my channel, so don't forget to check those out if you haven't already. But that's it for this video, but hopefully I'll see you in one of my next ones. Bye!